Want a book that will help you create dangerous destinations for your player characters? Or do you want to discover creatures like the Cacalotl, the Raggedy Man, and the Sightless Servant? How about some monsters from Wildspace like the Crystal Spine Saurian? Well, stay tuned, folks. These books and more are coming your way. All that and much more in this week's episode of D&D New Releases. Let's get started. Hi, it's Splinterverse. Welcome to another episode of D&D New Releases, where we offer first impressions of new third-party products for Dungeons & Dragons. We cover a selection of titles from Dungeon Masters Guild and DriveThruRPG each week. The titles are presented in alphabetical order, and all of them are linked in the video description. Purchasing the books using those links helps the channel, but you can also support us by purchasing one of our best-selling books. Our newest release, Dragonlance Companion, offers 180 pages for players and DMs to bring the magical world of Krynn to life. And like many of our books, it's available in hardcover and digital format. Our Swarms of the Multiverse offers over 70 brand new creatures, including their associated swarms, instructions on how to make your own balanced swarms, and lots of bonus materials such as 4 new demiplanes. Our Feywild Companion offers 150 pages of Feywild fun for players and DMs alike. Also, our book, Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, contains over 50 pages of dragon-themed player options, including a subclass for each class and much more. We've got lineages suitable for any setting, as well as optional lineage rules in our Van Richten's Librum of Lineages. With our Potions Unlocked book, we have over 100 pages of material to take potions to the next level in your game. Please support the channel by purchasing our books using the links in the video description. First up this week, we have The Curse of 𝘎𝙤𝙘𝙧𝙀, a playful pun-filled fantasy adventure for 1 to 6 players for 5th edition by David Michael Williams and 1 million words. It's $20 for the PDF, but you can get a hardcover for $30 or both for that same price, which is good. It's 200 pages. And it says, no good deed goes unpunished. When good company ventured into the funk a year ago to retrieve the fabled staff of 𝘎𝙤𝙘𝙧𝙀, the heroes hoped to bring prosperity to a land long fraught with peril. But even as the ancient curse seems to fade, 3 factions fight for control of the region. The feral elves of the untamed north suffer no trespassers in the former no man's land, while the industrious dwarves of the civilized south seek to expand their borders. Meanwhile, the masked humans of the disorient keep their movements and motivations a mystery for now. With a threefold war brewing, the heroes of good company must return to the frontier town of Farway to mediate what might prove to be the shortest peace talks in history. Worst of all, a lingering threat in the funk could spell the end for all of Meso-Earth. So this sounds like a really fun adventure, the play on words in the title and the reference to the meme of 𝘎𝙬𝙧𝙀 is fun. So let's look inside. It's really nicely laid out. You can see the table of contents is really quick and easy to locate things in. Looks like it's got 3 acts, and then there's some appendices with player characters, non-player characters, spells, items, maps, handouts for players, all that good stuff. But you can see it's like I said, very well organized. And we're going to get to see 10 of those 200 pages, but I really enjoy the layout, the nice calm pictures here for the eyes. Sometimes layout is just overwhelming, and this feels like the right balance of white space and nice artwork. But it says it's for newcomers to the medium as well as veteran players looking to have fun, lighthearted approach to interactive storytelling. Whether you're running it as a first-time GM, planning a campaign for new players, or seeking a relatively quick adventure that favors storytelling over crunchy rules, or craving a fresh and funny take on fantasy tropes, you've come to the right place. So it's designed for 1 to 6 players who are led by you, the GM. The story can be completed in as few as 3 sessions or could span many more depending on how many optional encounters you choose to include. The game can also be played through multiple times. And so it is for 5e, and it gives you a link to the basic rules for that. You get an intro here in character with some background and history. And what I really like is there's also this fun flowchart. So it shows you how you can kind of take different paths to get down here to enter the Funk and climb the Tower of Shiz and defeat the 𝘽𝙤𝙬𝙧𝙨 𝘽𝙤𝙬𝙧𝙀. So as the author said, lots of puns in here, which can be a lot of fun, but it shows you kind of the adventure overview. So it features several paths for the players to choose from based on which faction they ally with, which is nice. While the middle of the adventure varies from playthrough to playthrough, it always starts and ends in the same locations. So it says good company arrives in Faraway to negotiate a treaty with the 3 factions. Ruffians interrupt the peace talks, ending the negotiations prematurely and permanently. The heroes form an alliance with one of the faction's delegates. So I think this is a really cool way to organize it, because you're going to have these factions, and based on who they align with, it's going to be a different experience. So you could play this through aligning with one faction, then play it through aligning with a different faction and have a different experience. Yes, there's going to be certain beats that you have that are going to always happen, right? But generally there's going to be some differences, some big differences, I think, that you'll get to experience, especially if you're like a pro DM and you want to rerun the adventure over and over. I think an adventure like this that has a different flow based on player choice is really cool. And there's a lot of adventures that have illusion of player choice, and you end up being railroaded down the same adventure path no matter what you do. So this is clearly going to give you choice. I mean, you can't give infinite choice to the players unless you want to just improv your whole campaign, because you have to hit certain beats, right? But this seems to offer more in the way of player choice than we often see. So really cool that. And yeah, I mean, there's a whole history here. It says many centuries ago, a girl named 𝘬𝙤𝙘 was born in the region known today as the Forbidden Frontier, the daughter of an elf noblewoman and a human from the fledgling Disorient nation. 𝘬𝙤𝙘 lived as an outcast in the untamed north, never truly belonging to her mother's people because of her human heritage and her strange and sometimes sinister magical gifts. When scouts discovered that the humans of the Disorient had sent a secret expedition into the Unholy Land, a region referenced in the elves' direst of prophecies, the elves concocted a plan that would prevent the humans' further intrusion. They sent 𝘬𝙤𝙘 alone to stymie the Disorient's forces in exchange for acceptance and a coveted position in the elven capital. The half-elf magus accepted the mission, even though she didn't personally believe in the prophecy. So I'm not going to read the whole history of 𝘬𝙤𝙘, but it's cool that there's this character named 𝘬𝙤𝙘 that's a half-elf and is involved in this whole prophecy thing, and you can read all about it here and in the preview. You don't have to buy it to read that, but it's fun. It's available print on demand, which is always awesome, and I like how flexible the replayability of this is. So look for it in the video description. Links is under Curse of 𝘬𝙤𝙘. Give it a click. Next, we have Dangerous Destinations from Nord Games, $30 for the PDF, and it doesn't say how many pages, but I'm guessing it's quite a few pages, and it says it's the definitive guide to creating intriguing and dynamic destinations, which, you know, I love Nord Games. I've backed a number of their Kickstarters, and they always produce really good, useful materials, and I find that they're often multiple uses for their books. I mean, whether it's for different games or just the fact that you can go back to them again and again, it's like a well that's never dry. It's always got something to help you, whether it's prepping for a campaign, inspiring the creation of one, or even helping you create your own book. So very cool. And it says here it's the definitive guide to creating intriguing and dynamic destinations. And it will help you create all manner of adventuring locations to populate the worlds in which you play, be they existing settings or your very own. You'll find easy-to-use chapters to flesh out your destination, its environment, and the danger that lurks there, as well as antagonist profiles and a wide variety of other useful tables. There's 60 fully realized pre-generated destinations, each with their own unique artwork and full-color map, ready to be slotted into any game world in seconds. So what's awesome about this book is it's got preset things that have been created using the rules that they're going to talk about in the reference stuff in this book. So you can just drop them right in. Everything's figured out. You just have to add the players and anything else you want to incorporate, maybe a storyline that's going to run through it, or maybe some beats of a story. So that's good to go. But then it has plenty of material to help you create your own destinations, because it's going to walk you through all the little components, whether it's the environment or the danger that you're going to find when you get there. It's going to walk you through those so that you can create your own. And there's something really rewarding in that, because your players aren't going to be able to just get up and go from your table to some other table and go to the exact same location. I mean, unless you publish what you created or you give that to another table, it's going to be a unique experience. It's going to be a unique place that you crafted. By following their system here, it's going to be unique enough that nobody's going to find this anywhere else. So I really think that's awesome, and I always love when books not only give you material that's prepared for you, but then teach you how to do it. So as I said, Nord Games is great. I've backed a number of their Kickstarters. I was excited to see that they have a title on drive-thru that we can talk about them this week. And I'm sure this is no exception. I mean, look at the table of contents here. So you have a whole part 1 that goes into the destination. So it can be a burial ground, a camp, a fortress, a religious site, a watchtower. I mean, multitude of options here. And then you get into the environments, whether it's aquatic, extra planner, forest, plain, swamp, all of the things. And then you get dangers, whether you want to have beasts and unintelligent monsters or some sort of event, or humanoids are there, or there's an item or magic going on. And then you've got antagonists, including intelligent monsters. And then part 5 is all these pre-generated destinations. So you can see how it all comes together. Kind of, you can reverse engineer it even to just kind of say, okay, how did they piece this together using this book? And so you can kind of get working examples, and that's always helpful too, because I mentioned that sometimes you get just preset destinations and no instructions, right? But there's also the flip side. Sometimes books give you instructions and they don't give you any examples, and then you're just like, am I doing this right? I don't know. And so I really appreciate that they have both in here. They also have some other helpful tables at the end. But and so it looks like it's quite a few pages. So I said it doesn't list the pages here, but I'm seeing 442 is the last number thing on the table of contents. So that's a massive amount of pages. So yeah, that's a big selling point for this book. I mean, the price for 442, that's a really good price for that many pages. It is a sequel to their first world building book, Spectacular Settlements, which was a big hit as well. But you don't need that to enjoy this. So it says the dangerous destination is made up of 4 pieces: the prelude, destination, environment, and a danger. When these 4 elements are combined, they will yield a foundation upon which you can build. Each of these has their own section in the book, and within them are chapters covering the different types. So the prelude contains 4 tables, which provide some general ideas that can marinate in your mind as you build your dangerous destination. This includes an overarching theme, what might have been present previously, so like the history of this place, right? So that's an important thing, because there could be clues there. There could be things left behind from history or still there from a long time ago, maybe buried, right? And then you have the destinations. This part includes builder chapters for the different types of places your destination could be. So burial grounds divided into graveyards and crypts, camps, fortresses, headquarters, hideouts, indoor and underground, outposts, etc. Then you got environments. So could be aquatic or coastal or plains or tundra, right? And then your dangers, we talked about those a little bit as well. So, and then you've got everything else, your antagonists, and how it differs if it's humanoids versus intelligent monsters, and then all of the pre-generated stuff. So it says rolled results. As stated above, the intention behind the builders is to inspire and aid the generation of ideas, and therefore the creation process is still a flexible one. It is rare that every single roll result is used or accounted for in the write-up, but their inclusion in their entirety provides an example of how you can create a destination that emphasizes certain results that inspire you. So as I said, they're gonna literally show the math. They're gonna walk you through it, help you see how it works. And it is worth noting, anytime there's roles involved, you can live and die by those roles if you're creating something, or you can use some roles and then some options just pick, right? It's your world. I always like to remind people of that, because sometimes you get kind of stuck because you get a role you don't like and you feel like you're forced to keep it. It's not like that. Especially when you're creating stuff, you need to be good with what you're making. And if you get a role that's just not going to work for your vision, move on, roll again, pick directly without even rolling. It's not a big deal. So it's talking about how to use the tables. It says this book contains what amounts to thousands and thousands of suggestions. If you notice a detail you don't like, something just doesn't fit within the campaign setting you're using or the area you need your dangerous destination to be in, simply change it. So they're saying exactly what I just said, right? It's your world to change as you see fit. So here you've got the prelude. It sets the stage for your adventure. So we're going to just pretend to roll on this. It's a d20, so I'm just going to pick an 8. And it says, what is the important or overarching theme of this destination? So we rolled an 8, and it says hatred, pure dislike, or desire to see ill befall something. So okay, that's cool. That's an interesting something that is a strong feeling, right? There's a pure hatred, a pure dislike. So let's roll on the next table. Previous presence. What, if anything, was found here before your dangerous destination occupied this location? So we're going to pick an 18. And we got a ritual site. It says this area was used for very special rituals. They need not have been dark rituals. So just piecing things together, if there's a hatred, it could have been a number of things. It could have been people were doing rituals here to get rid of something that they hated, like an overlord, or a bad ruler of an area, or a menace. Maybe there was an infestation of some kind, or there was a particular dragon or some sort of monster that was terrorizing the area, and so there was a hatred of that, so they were doing rituals. Or flipping it on the other way, you could say that the hatred was people hated the rituals that were going on here, right? And so there were all these rituals happening at this location, and people thought it was blasphemous, or they thought it was dangerous, or they thought it was responsible for maybe some famine or whatever, and maybe it was. And so you could work with that. See how we're kind of slowly building things by just being triggered by what we're rolling. And then, okay, so now continued presence. It says, is the presence still here? If it isn't, are there lingering effects or influences? So we're just going to pretend to roll a 3. And we get traces. It says, what was here has been replaced by the destination. However, there's still evidence or small clues pointing to what was once here. So maybe there's an altar buried. Maybe you see part of the altar, or there's broken altar. Maybe you turn over a rock and there's something that's been painted on it because it was part of the ritual, right? So there's ways to, we're just making this up right now as we're recording this. So you see how it just happens? So imagine what you could do, and we're just picking one on each of these. These are D20 tables, a lot of them. So now it says, what type of place is your dangerous destination? So, you could pick another thing here. It could be a small location. Like if we roll an 11 here, a catch-all for individual places or structures with a range of miscellaneous purposes. This destination type includes rural and urban options. And that's as far as we can go in the preview. But I mean, look, we've already come up with two really viable options, either, hatred of a series of rituals happening there, or rituals to act out their hate, whether it's to banish something, to drive something away, to scare something, right? Or someone, or multiple someones. Yeah, so just getting lots of fun ideas, and we've barely scratched the surface. And I really think that's one of Nord Games' strengths. And they've been releasing these really cool card series that I've backed on Kickstarter that also prompt you with ideas. So I think you should check it out. I think $30 for 440 some pages is a steal of a price. So check it out. It is in the links below under dangerous destinations. And I think even though it's dangerous, you should go there. So give it a click. Next we have Death's Lost. When violence doesn't stop enemies, what will? It's an adventure for 15th to 20th level from 𝘭𝙬𝙗. It's $10 for 5th edition, and it says it's also compatible with Pathfinder 2nd edition, which is really cool. And it's 41 pages. It says at first it was just people with the little things, coughs, and never-ending sicknesses. Then more egregious cases showed: an old maid who fell and should have died from her injuries, a blacksmith's apprentice suffering terrible burns in an accident in the forge. As this knowledge spread around the land, the less scrupulous the villains began to take advantage of the situation. And it's an adventure for a party of 46 players going from 15th to 20th level. So that's good. We don't often get tier 4 adventures, and on top of that, you're getting an adventure that's geared for both 5th edition and Pathfinder 2nd edition. So that's huge. We don't see that a lot. So looking at the interior, it says, here we are at the beginning of the adventure. Chat with your players, find out how they know each other, ask questions about their past adventures. Once they're familiar with each other, it's time to begin. And then they have this read aloud, which we'll look at in a second. But you can see here in this section called the door, they've got a 5th edition kind of heading and then a Pathfinder. So they're clearly marking, what your DCs are and how it differs depending on which edition of the game you're playing. But they've got some fun maps in here. You can see that this stat block, Trammell's Trappers, is for 5th edition. I'm sure on the next page, which we can't see here in the preview, there's a Pathfinder one. So very, very cool. Again, you don't often see both in one product, so I always like to support that when I do. So let me read the flavor text that's taking the players into the adventure so you can get a feel for the writing. So it says, as the portal closes behind each of you, you glance around and see your old companions around you, each fully decked out in gear. You look down to see that you are also no longer wearing your comfortable clothes, but have once more donned your arms and armor of combat. A gruff in your mind snaps all of you to attention. Hello, my dear friends. How long it has been. Apologies that I could not greet you in person, but events have unfolded too quickly. The area around you appears in shambles, the cobblestone of the road disheveled, and the derelict buildings lining it have clearly seen better days. Over the last couple weeks, I've been tracking a small cabal that broke away from one of Sevian's churches, zealots who call themselves the 𝘭𝙬𝙗, brazen fools who seek immortality. A small purple light appears in the center of your group, pulsing lightly before drifting toward a nearby door. Beyond this doors where they hold Sevian, be prepared, as you'll need to be swift, but fear not for death, at least until he can break free of his current bindings. So, interesting, right? You're going to have this sort of weird experience where your clothing changes and you're going to deal with something called Sevian that's bound, and it says the door is a portal to the first room of the dungeon and will kick off the entire adventure. Players can ask around town, and the pulsing light will remain in this spot. The townsfolk are whoever you'd like them to be, and though they are aware that there is no death, they regrettably do not have an extra information to offer. Eventually, everything should lead back to the faint purple light that Ash, the voice who summoned the adventurers, has provided as a beacon. It will point the party towards the door and will pulse lightly until all party members have made their way through. And then, these were the checks we looked at earlier. And yeah, it just continues from there. And there's a healthy amount of these flavor text to read aloud, which I always like to see. Some adventures don't have enough of that, and not everyone is comfortable paraphrasing or making up their own. So really love to see that. Nice map in here too. That looks like it could be really cool to play on. Yeah, fun stuff. I like the concept. I like that it's Pathfinder and 5th edition. You don't get that a lot. So check it out. It's under Death's Lost in the links below. Give it a click. Next we have Dungeon Backdrop, Lost Eyrie of the Demon King, or Eyrie, I'm not sure how you pronounce that word. It's a dungeon backdrop from Raging Swan Press for 5th edition, 15 pages. Author Creighton Broadhurst, $3.75. And it says an otherworldly evil festers in the bowels of the lost Eyrie of the Demon King. And now that evil has attracted a powerful servant, a servant wreaking death and destruction on the surrounding countryside and villages, the local villagers need adventurers to eradicate this terrible threat. But will the heroes realize that something even worse lurks in the eternal dark of the lost Eyrie of the Demon King? So the Dungeon Backdrop series, we've talked about it before. It's really cool because it gives you a lot of background material for a dungeon, and it leaves room for you to create and drop in things that you want to have in that dungeon. It's more about like, what is the story, the origin, the behind the scenes of this dungeon, so that you can focus on, like, maybe you have some monsters you've been wanting to use and you don't really feel like building a whole adventure around them. The beauty of this is it's not married to a bunch of stuff already, so you can just take this through line, which is, this story thread and the history of this place, and then populate it with whatever you're looking to, maybe even for a play test, right, of something. Maybe you want to play test a monster you've made or something, and so you want to use this as kind of to make it more than just a boring, like, okay, let's just go right to combat play test, right? So it goes through like what the series is, and then it goes into some whispers and rumors and the background, and then all the notable locations. So you do get, even though it's not like a full-blown adventure, you do get all these locations described, so you can choose to use or lose those as you like. So you get a full, like I said, backstory with whispers, rumors, some hooks to get the characters in even, and then some surrounding stuff like some wilderness dressing, things they can find, notable locations, generic dungeon features, dungeon dressing. Raging Swan Press also has a number of books that are really just these kinds of tables. So if you struggle with dressing your dungeons, you should check out their other things. But so you have the map with all the numbered locations, and then you get the details down here of what's going on in those, which is so great. So there's even the altar of the Demon King. But let's just go back up and read one of the hooks and a little bit of the table. So there's two hooks. The first one is Portentous Dream. One of the characters, preferably a paladin or good-aligned cleric, begins to have hideous dreams of a most unsettling sort. In them, the dreamer sees a black feathery darkness oozing from a cave high up on a cliff. As the party pass through the wilderness close to the lost Eyrie, the character recognizes certain distinctive landmarks from their dream that led them to the Demon King's lost lair. So that's a great, straightforward way to get the players there. I mean, nobody can resist a dream that is showing you images of something, and you just feel a connection to it. I think that's a great way to get into stuff. Oh, and they actually have more than two. They give you 3 with the tavern rumor there too. But we just read 1. You can come here and read the rest. Whispers and rumors. This is a long time ago. Adventurers slew a pack of foul half-bird, half-women who dwelt in a lair piercing a high cliff. The dungeon's location has been long lost, so that could connect to this. Another one is a century ago, a gang of harpies despoiled the countryside before being driven away. So sounds like you're going to maybe run into some harpies. And then you get information on Pazuzu as the sort of king, demon king. Then you've got wilderness dressing. Things like splintered and cracked bones lie about this narrow rock shelf. The condition of the bones shows something powerful predated predated upon them, which I guess means preyed upon them. The skeletal fragments are identified as humanoid in origin. Bone-strewn ledges provide easy places to rest once the bones are swept aside. An overhang blocks the character's progress. So these are all little things that you can run into. You can also find birds' nests that festoon the cliff's nooks and crannies, or a large cracked scale of the appropriate type lies upside down on a rocky ledge. So many different little things that you can find, in addition to the notable locations like the Climb Perilous, the Lair of the Eyrie Lord, the Altar of the Demon King, etc. So love this series. I mean, in these tables you can reuse them. Don't use them all in your adventure, then you can just, cross off the one you used if you're going to play with the same people and just use some of the other ones. Reduce the die number or re-roll if you get one you've already got. However you want to do it. Great series. Inexpensive, $3.75. Look for it in the links below under Dungeon Backdrop, Lost Eyrie of the Demon King. Give it a click. Next we have Tehuatl Bestiary for Lost Lands from Frog God Games, and it's $12.99 for 20 pages. Author Tom Knaus, or Naus, not sure how to pronounce that. But the World of Lost Lands setting book from Frog God Games vividly describes the northern continents of Akados and Libaneos, but what lies south of the planet's equator remains a great mystery. The Tehuatl Bestiary pulls the curtain back and discloses some of that mystery. Look inside if you dare. So, I love Frog God Games. I keep buying their books and putting them on my bookshelf and flipping through them and just having a good old time. They have a lot of classic stuff that they've redone. Like Teagle Manor and some other really fun classic stuff. So. If you're unfamiliar with them, you're definitely going to want to check them out. But Tehuatl I really like because it's like this prehistoric vibe, or like if you read X-Men comics, kind of like a Savage Land vibe maybe. And I just think it looks really cool. I mean, look at this sort of cover with this altar. But looking inside, there's a bunch of really cool sounding monsters. We only get to see 8 of the 20 pages, but in the full 20, you're going to get to learn about all these. You've got a Lux, Beast from Below the Black, the 𝙎𝙤𝙘𝙀, the Card Shark, the daughter of the 𝘎𝙤𝙘𝙀, the Raggedy Man, the Sightless Servant, the Tear Collector, the Unrequited. I mean, these just all sound really interesting. Like, I can just imagine without even reading how cool they're going to be. But nice artwork to go with it. So this is the Lux. And then of course you get their stat blocks, and then you get a Lux of the Third Son, and then down here Beast of 𝘏𝑒𝑛, and the 𝙎𝙬𝙀. I love the artwork here for the 𝙎𝙬𝙀. It's like this evil scarecrow maybe, or wicker man, woman, person, and then you've got the Card Shark and the Chom and the 𝘏𝙬𝙀𝑒𝑚. It's a middle. It's like Mr. Mxyzptlk from Superman with some of these names, but I love the challenge. So let's read about the 𝙎𝙬𝙀, because I just am drawn to this picture. So it says, these magical constructs appear identical to their ordinary stuffed counterparts scattered throughout Tehuatl's maze, fields, and farms. So I was right, kind of like a scarecrow. Although they are animated using a process similar to that used to bring non-magical armor, weapons, and household objects to life, there's something inexplicably different about a 𝙎𝙬𝙀 that sets it apart from other animated objects. The construct is imbued with malevolence and spark of intelligence atypical of creatures born of magic and inorganic matter. Despite having some sentience, 𝙎𝙬𝙀s follow the commands of their creator, whom they worship as a living deity. And they're crafted from cloth and straw. Their heads resemble oblong pumpkins, while their spindly fingers end in sharpened claws. And so you've got false appearance, where they can kind of appear like a scarecrow. They've got this claw ability, and they've got cackle once a day. It emits an unnerving cackle that has no effect on constructs and undead. All other creatures within 30 feet of the 𝙎𝙬𝙀 that can hear it must make a con save, and on a failure they are frightened till the end of the 𝙎𝙬𝙀's next turn, and they take psychic damage. On a success, the creature is not frightened and takes half as much psychic damage. If the creature's saving throw is successful, the effect ends for it, the target is immune to that ability. But that's just cool. I love the look of that. And then you've got up here the beast of 𝘏𝑗𝙤𝙤. It says 𝘏𝑗𝙤𝙤's affinity with canines goes beyond the god's relationship with his gnome minions. At some point in the distant past, the cunning deity transformed what most presumed to be coyotes into monstrous abominations bearing his name. During the metamorphosis, the beasts acquired numerous deformities and defects that made them appear more demonic than animalistic. 𝘏𝑗𝙤𝙤's gnoll servants typically used these beasts as guardians within their communities and temples devoted to their malevolent god. So cool. I like how it's connected to the Tehuatl pantheon as well, or Lost Lands pantheon. I'm not sure if it's worldwide, but it's cool that it has that connection. And just cool illustrations. And I'm noticing too that there's a wide variety of CRs. So this one over here, the beast from below the black, is 8. This beast of 𝘏𝑗𝙤𝙤 is 1/2. 𝘏𝑗𝙤𝙤 is 1. Yeah, so you're getting a good mixture. This is a CR1 and a CR3 up here. So yeah, love that. That's always nice to see in a bestiary. It's a good selling point as well, is like, what's your CR range? So fun stuff as usual from Frog God Games. Another one I'm going to add to my wish list. So check it out. It's under Tehuatl 5th edition bestiary in the links below. Give it a click. Next we have Around the World in 80 Days by 𝙈𝙚𝙘𝙀𝙀𝙀. This is embark on a journey of a lifetime as you attempt to journey around the world in 80 days. The clock is ticking, your path is yours to choose, and the world is waiting for you. Are you ready to take on the challenge? And it's $7.99 for 30 pages. And it says, today you find yourselves in the bustling and ornate lobby of the Cartographers Guild. You've been challenged to journey through the remote places on the far corners of the map and return within 80 days bearing souvenirs originating from these places. Your journey will take you across oceans and deserts, through bustling cities and treacherous mountains as you race against the clock to complete this incredible journey. Along the way, you will encounter challenges and obstacles that will test your skills, your wit, and your courage, and you will have the opportunity to collect souvenirs or artifacts from each of the exotic locations you visit. So it says it's a short 3-hour adventure for 4 to 6 players at level 3 with a focus on exploration, resource management, travel planning, and social dynamics. So it's interesting. It looks really cool. So instead of 80 days, it's 3 hours. There's a lot of days packed into 3 hours, but it's cool. I could see how that could happen. So you've got 7 different chapters here of things that you're going to go through. You've got some maps of the Sword Coast as well. So it seems like the world that they're referring to is Forgotten Realms. And so there's a whole synopsis. It says they meet their challengers at the Cartographers Guild and are informed of the rules of their wager. And then there's a patron that they meet, and a bard joins them to help guide them on their journey. And then it talks about customizing the journey. So you can select some custom locations and alternate routes if you want. And then it gives you a list of NPCs, and then the beginning, and then the preparations. So you have to stock up on supplies, of course, get transportation, research the destinations, all that stuff. And then it gets right into beginning the journey. So it talks about tracking time, money, trading time for money, travel itinerary. So again, there's going to be some resource management, which is a little different, but that could be fun. It says time and money are the most valuable resources that adventurers have in this adventure. When they run out of time, they can make up for it by spending more money and taking faster means of transportation. However, when they start running out of money, they will need to spend their time and find ways to earn some. There's haggling, looking for cheaper souvenirs, forging or stealing. And then it gives you a list of all the typical travel modes and the costs. So you can take a sky ship. It says sky ships are magical vessels that soar through the skies, capable of traversing great distances quickly, making them a popular mode of transportation. Sky ships typically have a crew of skilled pilots and navigators. So it could be even like a Spelljammer, or you could have, a typical blimp or a magical ship of some kind. And it shows you that you get 8 units per day, and it costs 25 GP per day. to do that, but you could also use a teleportation circle for 50 GP a day, or teleportation directly for 150. I mean, so there's a number of options to bounce around. But it says if you return within 80 days bearing 3 souvenirs originating from these destinations, the Grandmasters have agreed to pay you 5,000 GP. Additionally, each additional souvenir you bring back from a new location along your travel wins you an additional 200 GP. Considering that this amount of money would set you up for life, you all gladly accept. So, yeah, I think it's just fun. I mean, there's the classic novel. I think it's from Jules Verne, Around the World in 80 Days. And so you get to kind of experience that, but in a D&D way. So it's a fun sort of setting for the adventure. And I think it looks cool. So check it out. It's in the links below under Around the World in 80 Days. Give it a click. Next, we have characters that jump off the page, from appearance to motivations, from 𝘽𝙤𝙘𝙬𝙀, $7.99 for 171 pages. That's a lot of pages. And when we start looking at this book, you're going to see how cool that is. Because it says, are you looking to create a compelling character for your next adventure, novel, or screenplay? Look no further than characters that jump off the page. This book is a compilation of questions covering a range of topics, including appearance and mannerisms, class and spells, beliefs and values, education and training, etc. You don't need to use every single suggestion in the book. Instead, choose the aspects of your character that you want to focus on and develop them to create a truly unique and memorable personality. So whether you're a seasoned gamer, aspiring author, or just someone looking to create a compelling character for your next project, this is the perfect tool to achieve your goals. And so it's so true. I've looked at this a little bit already, and I really like it because it just gives you so much inspiration. And as the description here says, it's not just for your RPG characters. You can use it to develop novel characters. If you're an actor and you're playing a role, you could do it for that. There's a number of uses. I think it could even be almost like a solo journaling adventure, like where you create a character and you can maybe even create the character in D&D Beyond or whatever, and then you start sort of journaling the answers to some of these questions. I think that could be really fun. You might even spin that off into either an NPC if you DM, or a novel, or any number of things. So it's a great way, especially, we sometimes want to play D&D or do something like that, and we just can't get a group together, or we don't have time, or the group canceled this week, or whatever, right? So having books like this where you can do a bunch of things on your own and still kind of get that D&D fix is awesome. So looking inside, there's an intro, but this right here, see, it says, where was your character born and raised? And then it goes through, so that's the question, and then it goes through 20 possible answers. So you can either pick those answers from those answers by rolling or flipping through and kind of feeling what works for you, or you can just take that prompt of a question and write the answer. So it gives you so many different ways to go about it. You can even challenge yourself to take one of the ones that's listed here and then tweak it, change it, mix it up, right? Make it your own. And as the author said in the catalog page, you don't have to go through every question in the 171 pages. You could just pick a few. Although, as I said, if you want to write out your own answers, that could be a fun journaling exercise as well. So we're just going to pretend to roll a 9 here on where was your character born and raised. It says, I was born in a small mining town nestled in the mountains. My parents were miners, and I grew up learning to dig and work the mines. Okay, so that works. And you can think about what was the mine, what were they trying to dig up there, was it safe, was it dangerous, did you have brothers and sisters that were working there as well, or aunts and uncles or whatever. Was there anything else going on in that mining town? What was the name of the mine, right? All these secondary questions that were triggered just by picking number 9 out of 20. Right, so you can spend hours just writing this stuff out or making notes or whatever. Then the next question is, what was your character's childhood like? So let's roll a 15. My childhood was spent in the university library, reading and studying, and also learning to write and communicate effectively. So, which university? What were you studying? And if we're going to pair it with the previous answer, Did your family work in the mines and you were the only child that they were able to afford to send to this university? And did something happen where maybe you regret that you weren't there? Maybe you lost part of your family in a mine collapse or something, right? And so you are like, man, I was at the university, and I feel really guilty because I was the only one who got to go, and then I was not there to help my family. And you can turn this into a whole novel of things going on, right? And which you can use as your backstory for your D&D character, or a character in a book, or a character in your own publication on DM's Guild, whatever, right? See, I twisted it enough to make it my own, right? I could have just ran with what's written here, but you see how I'm like tweaking it and working with it. So the next one is who raised your character and what were they like? So let's just pretend to roll a 9 again. So it says, I was raised by my grandfather, a retired ranger who taught me how to survive in the wilderness and hunt for my own food. He was gruff but kind-hearted and always had a twinkle in his eye when telling me stories of his past adventures. So maybe, your parents were so busy in the mine that you were mostly with your grandfather, or there was some sort of threat, and so you had to go stay with the grandfather for a little bit while the threat was handled in town. Maybe they were getting raided, and so they said, go stay with grandfather. We got to work, so we're going to stay here, right? So there's a number of backstories. So you can tie them all together, or you can diverge and say, okay, I'm going to cancel that I went to a university. I'm going to cancel that my parents are from the mine, and just keep working your background until you have it where you want it, right? It's your world. And it just goes on. There are so many questions in here, like anything you could ever want to ask about your character. It just page after page after page, 171 pages of this. You are going to find questions that help you with so many situations in here. And so many suggestions. And again, this doesn't have to be for player characters. It could be for NPCs. It could be for a role that you're playing in a play. Maybe it's a minor role and you're able to really invent a huge backstory because there's just not a lot written, right? Or you have a character in a novel you want to flesh out. Whatever it is, you're going to want and need characters that jump off the page. So look for it in the video description under characters that jump off the page and give it a click. Next, we have Demons of the Fourth Age, Scourge of the Abyss from Marty Schmidt, and it is $7.99 for 82 pages. And it says, introducing a compendium of demons converted from 4th edition for use in 5th edition. With this comprehensive guide, players and dungeon masters alike can delve into the dark and treacherous world of demons with ease, featuring 79 unique demons not yet introduced into 5th edition, each with their own detailed stat blocks, lore, and abilities. This compendium is a must-have. Each demon has been carefully converted from 4th to 5th edition, ensuring a seamless transition and providing new opportunities for creative storytelling and challenging encounters. There's also the Abyssal Plague, and those transformed by its blight includes 16 demons that have been transformed by the plague and the hive mind controlling them. The Void Harrow, provided other mechanics of how the disease propagates and how it affects the individuals infected. So, just fun stuff. Because, there's always people that are going to be like, I wish I had this monster from 4th edition. And they've even, you can see here in this picture, 4th edition Dungeon Magazine number 196 is where this Pisco demon came from. So you can get this demon back into your little hands for 5th edition. And it's a CR9. And then this one up here is a CR13. So these are no joke. These could be the big bad of a campaign or an adventure or a setting, whatever. And there's a lot of them here. And I like that it tells you where they came from, like which 4th edition book. So if you want to go look at more pictures or read more about it, you can do that. So it goes all the way. There's so many here. And then you got those plague demons as well. It goes through, so first of all, you have the Abyssal Eviscerator 4th edition Monster Manual 2, page 51. and then it goes into the stat blocks, etc. And there's some lore. You get some of the lore as well, which is nice. So let's read about the abyssal servitors. It says the demons that afflict the natural world are those capable of navigating the perilous gateways between planes, or those summoned by others for wicked purposes. In the abyss, countless demons of various kinds reside, most of which are unknown in the mortal world. Among them are the abyssal servitors, mindless creatures that serve as fierce guardians and brutal beasts of burden. Abyssal servitors, the lesser kin of intelligent demons, are utilized by their masters as protectors and servants. While numerous types of abyssal servitors exist within the abyss, they are seldom encountered in the natural world unless summoned by a demon. Eyries are aquatic abyssal servitors that inhabit the elemental maelstroms of the abyss. They are frequently trained as guard creatures for abyssal moats and pools. 𝙬𝙤𝙬 serve as guards, mounts, and pack animals for their demon masters. Lamishas are guardian servitors trained to safeguard important demons or their captives. Despite occasionally operating independently, abyssal servitors seldom stray too far from their demon overlords. So you're getting not only the abyssal servitors, but all the variations, which is cool. And I will say, with Spelljammer, people are going all over the place, traveling around, visiting different places that might have some of these demons. And then furthermore, we're about to hit Planescape later this year, which means people are going to be going from plane to plane to plane. You've got the Radiant Citadel, which allows you to go from place to place. So there's a number of ways to get around the multiverse now. And having 79 demons plus all these plague ones is going to come in handy. I guarantee it. There's just not that many of any one type of creature in the published stuff, because Wizards has been pretty careful to spread it out so you get an assortment, right? So this will really deep dive into demons for you. So look for it in the video description links under Demons of the Fourth Age and give it a click. Next, we have Magic of Chaos from Sign of the Dragon and Marco Giulio Fossati and Marco Bertini, $7.95 for 45 pages. And it's a lot of wild magic options, which is always fun. I mean, wild magic is just it makes people smile. Maybe sad sometimes because they had an experience with wild magic, something fired off and it wasn't what they wanted. But most of the time, people are entertained by wild magic at the very least. So it gives you an alternate table for wild magics with 100 different entries. You get a new school for wizards called the School of Chaos. You get 17 new magic items, 12 new spells, 43 new monsters inspired by the living spells from Eberron. And some nice artwork. I mean, look at this. It looks so good. I mean, I always like what Son of the Dragon gets up to. They have some great stuff. I mean, look at all these great books. I just ordered their Underwater Campaigns hardcover finally. It had been on my wish list for so long, and I was just like, I was like looking through the ones on my wish list, and I'm like, I'm ready to buy a book and support a third party. And this was the one I picked. One of the ones I picked, several during the GM's Day sale, and they just do such good stuff. I've always enjoyed it every time we've gotten to talk about them. And they do so many, I haven't gotten to cover everything. So hopefully you'll check out their other books as well. But let's look inside at this one. So it's got the Wild Magic Origins, the Surge table, and the new Wild Magic options like Wild Magic Zones, Dead Magic Zones, and then that new subclass, as well as a bunch of magic items like Ammunition of Confusion, Egg of Wonder, Weapon of Chaos, Wild Surge Ring, and then you get a ton of new spells, which I always love. Alternate Reality is one of them, and Wild Strike and Warp. And then you get new living spells, so a ton of monsters that are basically spells that are alive, like in Eberron. So you could use these for Eberron or somewhere else. It even goes through all the different settings and where you could use those. This stuff in this book for existing settings. Different origins for wild magic, if you want to explain why it exists. So you can say an ancient empire abused magic and twisted it forever, so that's why you have wild magic. Or it says magic goes wild due to portals from other planes like the Feywild or the Abyss. So good explanations there. Then you get The new surge table, which is cool. Let's pick a couple of items. So colorful bubbles come out of your mouth instead of words. Words are released when bubbles pop. For 1 minute, spells with verbal components cast by you have effect only when someone uses its action to pop the bubbles. That's kind of fun. And it says you speak in a squeaky voice for the next 24 hours. That could be interesting to roleplay as well. You begin to hiccup for 1 hour. Your spell attack rolls have disadvantage and saving throws against your spell's effects are made with advantage. Yeah, that'd be a bummer, but it makes sense that you're hiccuping, and you could roleplay that if you can fake a hiccup pretty good. And then you've got your wild magic zones, and they have different sizes and different manifestations, like beasts get nervous when they enter the zone. There's effects like when a spell is cast by a creature using charisma, a wild magic surge occurs. So you have to roll on the surge table. And you get your items, your spells, like unluck. So let's look at alternate reality. You create a small alteration of probabilities. If the target is unwilling, it can make a wisdom saving throw on a failed save. Or if the target is willing, the target creature is forced to re-roll its attack, ability check, or saving throw. You then choose which roll to use. When you cast a spell, a wild magic surge occurs. So you're even getting some surges in the spells, which is fun. And then you get living spells, and this one is a CR 14. So that would be a really good enemy for certain levels, for sure. Look at that cool picture too. Yeah, I mean, just fun stuff and a nice assortment of things as usual from Sign of the Dragon. So as I said, they have a ton of titles, so hopefully you'll click the link and check out not only Magic of Chaos, but all the good stuff from Sign of the Dragon, and it is in the links in the video description, so look for it. Magic of Chaos, give it a click. Next we have the Order of the Cube, and it is a campaign setting and structure that crosses all of time and space. It is by Victoria Roberts with a suggested price of $10 for 144 pages. So this is massive. This is the party joins the mysterious Order of the Cube, an organization that travels through time and space, correcting the flow of history. The party travels via magical, bigger on the inside cube, to a past filled with legendary monsters and a future where dwarves mine asteroids, elves sail among the stars, and humans colonize any remotely habitable planet. The party gradually learns about the past and future of the Forgotten Realms in this episodic campaign that hops genres and culminates in the question, what exactly is the Order of the Cube? You can also generate your own campaign storyline and use this book setting, all of time and space, and its supporting mechanics. So it's a series of adventures lasting 1 to 3 sessions, very episodic. Every 6th adventure, the party gets to choose when and where they go. In all other instances, the DM chooses or randomly selects a time and place for the next adventure, suitable for levels 1 to 20, although level 20 recommended for the finale. Leans more heavily on fantasy than sci-fi, and player characters can come from any time period. It's ideal for a DM looking for an existing campaign setting but eager to homebrew individual adventures, DMs and players looking for adventure variety, or players interested in exploring their characters' backstories. You get hundreds of futuristic weapons, items, and spells, futuristic player races, backgrounds, class adjustments and feats, mechanics for futuristic activities, mechanics for time travel, detailed maps and a timeline of the history of the universe, a campaign structure that describes the first and last adventures and suggests the story arcs, 5 pre-made sample adventures from across time and space. And it just looks really cool. And what I really also love about this is Victoria Roberts is the artist and the writer. You know, I love when I see that, because it's just super cool to see someone's vision fully executed that way. But this has a ton of stuff. I mean, this is a major, major book. I mean, with what it's offering you, all of this stuff, these sample adventures, these races, these backgrounds, these feats, how to set everything up so you can time travel. And just think about it, mixing characters from the past of Faerun, for example, with characters from its future, or maybe even with, Spelljammer or the technologies in this book, from other spaces. So someone from Kryn space and Realm space and Homebrew space, all melded together to go on these adventures as part of this Order of the Cube. It's very Doctor Who, which I like. I'm a big fan of Doctor Who. So, I can see where, they would travel through a cube and do all sorts of fun stuff. So you got treasure, You've got spells, adventures. I mean, and look at this artwork. So remember, the person who wrote this also did the artwork, the layout, everything. I mean, this looks so good. I've not seen Victoria Roberts' work before, but now I'm excited to see more because this just blew me away to see right away such greatness. And so you have regular adventures, adventure theme that you can pick, the adventure time period, and it says the first adventure, the Labyrinth. The full text of this adventure is available on page 105. This section provides the background and motivations of Lyra, Mystra, and their helpers, Cortesia and Phileas. It includes some discussion of paradoxes and sunderings, which are more fully described later in this chapter. So it gives you kind of the master plan. I'm not going to spoil it for you. But there's story arcs. I mean, and then the sunderings here. So the first sundering, a description, the repercussions. And I mean, this connects to Forgotten Realms, from what I can tell, which is cool. So you get to see the future and past of the Forgotten Realms, and it talks about the cube. It says magical artifact created by and imbued with the power of the goddesses Mystra, magic, and Lyra, time. The two goddesses are literally encased in the cube, making it a formidable artifact. While Lyra and Mystra are usually inseparable from the cube, they can occasionally expend great effort to communicate directly with the party. In these instances, their message is communicated telepathically or through strong emotions that linger after dreams. So it talks about bringing other things into the cube. And then, I mean, look at this map of timelines. So you got future and the past with this cube traveling through. And then over here, it shows a non-paradoxical adventure and then creating a major paradox. I mean, this is no joke. I mean, the author is going into how to deal with paradoxes. I mean, this is science. This is science in here. So you're getting everything. I mean, I love it. You got character creation. It says player characters from non-medieval time periods. More advanced players and DMs may wish to take advantage of the existence of time travel and permit player characters to come from any time period. This has distinct mechanical advantages and can provide a more interesting story. So one of the things I always loved about Doctor Who, and they really haven't done it a whole lot, but occasionally they would have like the Doctor, who is well-traveled, of course, and then the companions would be people from different time periods. A lot of times they're from modern day whenever the show is taping. But when they would bring someone from the past who's kind of a fish out of water, that was interesting. When they'd bring somebody from the future, that was always interesting because you'd find out a little bit about the future. So this is your opportunity to do this in D&D. Can, like I said, you can mix from the different multiversal worlds. You can mix from the different time periods. It's just your playground to do with what you want, and it goes into additional artificer spells, additional bard spells. I mean, so you even get some class tweaks. I mean, this is like almost like a Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, where you get all this good stuff that you can use even outside of this adventure. With some different options. I mean, and you get to read this whole book for free. I mean, the entire 144 pages is here. I mean, this Victoria Roberts spent months probably putting this together, laying this out, writing all of this, illustrating all of this, and now has made it available to see for free. I definitely encourage you to pay something. Please pay something. I would feel horrible for Victoria to not get something out of this, because it seems like a strong work, and it's amazing that it's being offered so incredibly cheap. But like I said, pay something, please, to support Victoria, because I want to see Victoria do more things. And I mean, look at how much stuff is in here, how many illustrations. I just scrolled to the end so you can kind of see all these different maps. I mean, this is a really cool book. I was shocked to see this when I was going through. I was like, wow. To give this away pretty much is just, it blows my mind, because I know how long it takes. I make books. I know how long these books take, and this one does not look thrown together. It doesn't look like it took 5 minutes. So please support this and look for it in the video description links under Order of the Cube and have some crazy fun time traveling adventures. I think that would be so fun to play as a player and so fun to run as a DM, because you just, who knows what's going to happen. And I mean, run it twice, 3 times, see, with new different situations, different players. So look for it, Order of the Cube, give it a click. Next we have Strange Life Forms of the Astral Sea, Volume 1, from Matt Popovich, and it's 11 pages, and Volume 2 and 3 came out this week too, and I really love this cover, and it says the artist is also Matt Popovich, so very great talent here if Matt is writing and illustrating all this stuff and then doing 3 volumes, and this one's only 75 cents. How could you not consider purchasing it for, you can't even buy a can of soda out of a machine for 75 cents, right? So for less than the price of a soda, you can have this book. And there's 2 other volumes that also look really cool. When there's 3 volumes released in a week, I always like to go with the first volume if I can, just so people don't get distracted by, oh, I need numbers 1, 2, and 1 before I buy 3, you know. So that's the reason I picked number 1 to cover, but you can see the other 2 are down here and you can look at them as well. But it says, what will you stumble across beyond the edges of wild space? From the Crystal Spine Saurian to the Cosmic Relic Hunter, the supplement adds 10 new monsters and characters imbued with a perfect blend of sci-fi and fantasy, ideal for any Spelljammer campaign. Discover these strange life forms from across the Astral Sea. So you can see here the Crystal Spine Saurian, which is a CR5. It's a dazzlingly vivid predatory space dinosaur found among the asteroid belts of the wild space. It likes to wait in asteroid fields and ambush passing prey. It can sometimes be found scavenging on Kindori carcasses or even on the corpses of enormous dead gods in the Astral Sea. And then you've got the armor, like talks about the armor and all the different things, but it's got this thing called Crystal Barrage. The Saurian spins in place and shoots a barrage of geodes and crystals from its back. Each creature in a 30-foot sphere centered on the Saurian must make a dex saving throw, taking piercing damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. So, love that. So cool looking how it has all these gemstones in the back. And I think it could be really fun. You know, one of our books, Swarms of the Multiverse, we have a demiplane called Crystallis that's all about crystals and things like that. So you could put this monster there. I know a lot of you bought that book, so if you're playing on that demiplane, this monster would fit in there too. But I love that it ties into wild space and that it's another thing that you can encounter out there in wild space to battle and deal with, and lying in wait. And can even with that back, if the asteroid it's on kind of looks also like gemstones and stuff, it could be lying in wait and you wouldn't even know necessarily. And this is the Ziphian Verdant Blade, which is a CR9. Love the artwork. I mean, just so beautiful. It's got a green laser sword and plasma orbs. Sends one of its floating plasma orbs to create a 20-foot radius sphere of force centered on a point she can see within 120 feet. Each creature in that area must make a DC 15 dex saving throw. A creature takes force damage on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one. So, yeah, this looks like it could be a fun thing to run into too. I mean, the artwork is great. The variety of CRs is great. The price is great. I mean, again, I was surprised to see this. You know, there's just talent that emerges each week when we do this video, and I'm always excited. And I love that Spelljammer is on DM's Guild, because that really opens the door for so much creativity, because you can really create spaces and places for things that, you know, before when we just had Forgotten Realms and Ravenloft and stuff, you kind of were boxed in a little bit. This opens it up, and I love it. So check it out. It's under Strange Life Forms of the Astral Sea in the links below. Give it a click. All right, at this point in the program, we're going to do some rapid fire new releases, just letting you know that these titles came out so you can explore them on your own. First is The Basilisk Betrayal. It's an adventure for level 3, and it's only $3.95 for 36 pages. Next, we have Dandy Duels. It's $2 for 31 pages, and it's focused on spells and rules for duels, so some PvP style spells for you. Then we've got False Idols, which is 27 pages, $4.99, and it's an adventure for level 1. We've also got Snowdown Infiltration, a Moonshae adventure, so for Forgotten Realms. It's for level 11 from Darren Ruckle. It's $2 for 12 pages. And then we've got Return of Dullahan by Tom Flynn, and it's $4 for 62 pages, and it's an adventure for 6 to 9 with some old school stylings. The interior looks really cool, looks like an old module. And then we've got Wondrous Boss Fights Monstrosities from Rob Waller and Spirit of Envy, $4.99 for 24 pages. And the focus of this book is continuing in this series where they're making the boss fights more engaging for players and DMs by using sort of a different system for boss fights. So I encourage you to check out this one and the entire series. Well, that's it for our rapid fire releases this week and all of our new releases. So thanks so much for watching. Please like the video for the algorithm, share the video, subscribe, all that good stuff, and click those links in the video's description to support these creators. They work so hard to bring these titles to you, and you're also going to help support the channel with a small affiliate fee if you click any of those links, even if you purchase something we didn't cover this week. So I do appreciate that, and it helps all of us, all boats rise together. That's the plan with these kinds of videos, is we're just trying to help everyone grow, because if the whole industry grows, we all benefit, and it's more D&D fun for all of us, right? For creators watching this week, my advice is to look into an LLC, a limited liability company. And although I'm not a lawyer and this is not legal advice, I have one for Splinterverse Media. I advise all creators that are doing it either as a side business or a main business to do it, because it will protect your personal assets from liability. If somebody wants to sue you over a book you make, or somebody you're working with wants to sue you over the experience, the only thing that's at stake is really what is owned by your limited liability company. So that means you'd have to make the copyrights, etc., to your LLC in your books so that it's all owned by the LLC, but that's good protection for you. It's inexpensive to do. It's a one-time process. I believe international folks can do it as well, so it might be something to explore even if you're international. But look into it, and I think it could be really helpful for you. I definitely am glad to have that for Splinterverse Media. So that's my tip for this week. We'll have another one for you next week. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, happy adventuring.